You're welcome back to the middlemen of jurors. The Yorubas have a saying, Bi ikule opani to de olipani. Loosely translated to mean, if the death within doesn't kill you, the death without cannot kill you. Are you safe at home? Nigeria is considered to be a country with a high level of crime, ranking 19th among the least peaceful countries in the world. During the first half of 2022, almost 6,000 people were killed by jihadists, kidnappers, bandits, or the Nigerian army. So crime in Nigeria in recent years ranges from terrorism, both state-sponsored and non-state actors, banditry, and kidnappings for ransom. Of course, there's still child sexual abuse, domestic violence, and other crimes perpetrated in homes. But armed robberies in people's homes are no longer as rampant as they were 25 years ago. We had car vandalisms in my neighborhood this year. It became so common that we were forced to act, only to find out a resident's domestic staff stealing one from the other. One guard or gardener stealing from the other house. Driver and maid colluding to steal from their boss. All internal insecurity. Are you safe at home? Remember the matriarch of the Benedians. Her life was taken by her young maid who stole her jewelry and absconded. Remember Chuchu Ajumogobia. Her newly employed domestic staff in Parkview Estate Ikori colluded to also take her life. The maid was stealing dollars in Chuchu's room when her Oga walked in. The maid colluded with Chuchu's driver and guard, and all three of them are alleged to have been involved in her murder. Are you safe at home? I also remember an elderly couple in an estate off Allen Avenue in 2022. They were fatally attacked by seeming armed robbers at night before they were to travel abroad for medical checkup. Further investigations showed the crime was orchestrated by their driver, who they had asked to buy dollars for their trip. The maid was also brutally attacked. She only survived by the whiskers. By now, you must have gleaned that my case is asking, are you safe at home? No matter the security at estate gates, they will probably allow your domestic staff access. Hence, security truly starts from your individual hires. We cannot shout it enough. My estate was shocked this week with the news of a man in an estate close by whose driver drove in without being stopped, abducted his boss, put him in the car trunk, and drove out with him. The gentleman only got away with his life because he paid for it. He was kidnapped for ransom by his own driver. Again and again, we find that it's domestic staff committing crimes in gated communities. Again, I asked, are you safe at home? My verdict: there are people who document their staff with the police immediately they are hired. Do background checks and let it be obvious that these staff won't go scot-free if they ever have criminal faults. Sometimes it's safer to know your staff's family and family homes. And treating them well is not a guarantee that the devil won't use them. Do not just hire through agents, like is reported in Ajumogobia's case. May God continue to protect us. Selah.
Amen.
Everyone have the tendency to commit crime. Forget the background, whether is well trained, whether he grew up in an environment where morality is touted, is held in high esteem, or whether your domestic staff are profiled by the police, the DSS, the Navy, the Army, and the whole host of security agencies. Everybody have the tendency to commit a crime at every point. In law, that tendency is, accentuated by the fact that a domestic staff have limited opportunities. No matter how good a person is, there are certain opportunities that is not extended to domestic staff, for which members of families enjoy to the fullest. Most of these domestic staff, after working for a while in your house, they begin to develop entitlement. From that entitlement, they develop hatred when certain opportunity is not extended to them. Then they begin to feel less of themselves. They begin to feel that they have a share in the luxury of the family. Unfortunately, they do not. So what they do is to contract a third party. Sometimes they get away with it. Hand over the itinerary of Oga or Madam to a third party criminal gang. They plot, a crime.
Around your schedule.
They hash it. They concoct it. They support the third party to succeed in it. And when that happens, they go back and share their loot. That happens a lot. It's only when these offenders are apprehended, they make confessional statements. They now mention driver, mention cook, they mention gardener. You see these people, cook, gardener, laundryman, and all these people.
Your life is in their hands, oh.
Yes, it's in their hands. That is why, in my own house, I try as much as possible to eliminate all third-party or foreign bodies. But the burden is heavy. When you say you don't want any of that, the burden, you will almost choke. You have to now...
Can I quickly interrupt you?
You have to sit down with your spouse and then devise the best means possible. If you must get a third party, it should come from maybe your relatives. Even relatives.
Those ones are what?
Even relatives.
The implementation of the matriarch, was it not the relatives that brought that young girl? I wanted to just support your argument to say that in Chuchu Agbomo-Gobia's case, she had been living alone and doing well. She's a doctor, right? She got tired of coming home to do the house chores by herself and hired maid, driver, guard from an agency. Within the week that she hired all three of them was when they killed her. So was she not okay just leaving the house or tidy? No, buy your food outside if you are too tired.
You see, for me, I think Nigeria, from personal experience, that was one of the reasons why I even left paid employment, because at the point I had to sit down with my wife, and after a house help, we just saw that it was the mom that was teleguiding her, from wherever they were, do this and all the demands, they made money, did everything, sent her to school and all of that. Then I had a factory, we were training her then. Okay, when you just finish your school start, even GCE, when you finish, you work in the factory. We can even give you the factory, run it, just give us, did everything. You see, just like the human propensity for wickedness. You can, even if you drain your blood and give some
greed and entitlement,
you can never satisfy them. The experience we had, we got one girl, small girl, those young girl, I said, okay, let's adopt her as our daughter. Train her in school and everything. The same thing.
They will say run away.
We adopted older one that we thought, okay, this one should be matured. The same problem.
You see the same thing.
Younger brother, right in his house. Anytime himself and the wife went to work, their electrician or carpenter will come into the house and was sleeping with the maid until she got
pregnant.
Then another maid, they brought an older maid. That one day when I went there and I looked at this girl, I said, no, something is happening. And then I said, look closely. I knocked on that door for more than 30 minutes. I said, I'm a street street guy.
They were high on population.
I said, I'm a street guy that all is not too well. I just told them, I said, I'm not indicting your maid.
They want to alter the population of the earth.
I told her,
go into the world and multiply.
I told my brother, and I said, you get a CBO. What I saw, I won't say anything. Eventually, you can't hide pregnancy. So it came out. So the thing is this, like the Alawode woman, may I so respect. I feel Nigeria has got to a level now. There are professional services for some of these things that you don't need to have living.
No, but that was what she attempted to do now.
No, they were living.
You can sometimes they come after 5 days. They go.
Sometimes
they were living. The maid was stealing in her room, and she walked in on her.
Your empathy
was why you killed her.
Is what is driving you. you get this person just because you're empathetic.
Yes.
You try to, like I was talking to my friend, it's a philosopher, he read philosophy, and I was talking to him about poverty alleviation. He started laughing. I was wondering, why was it like, he said poverty cannot be alleviated.
Is it like yo?
He said, because you know why it cannot be alleviated? There are people that you cannot sort out their poverty.
At all.
Because
they are comfortable in poverty.
the more you try, the more they give you layers and miles
Of
to
poverty.
retain their position. You understand? So you cannot. That's what happens sometimes. Not like a family cannot, put together a plan around their activity and their affair and avoid. But you always have 1, 2 cousins who are not doing well. You want to bring them in.
That one is even more dangerous.
When you bring them in, they now develop a pathological entitlement.
Particularly because they are family members.
Yes.
They can see your own children, their cousins.
They begin to compare.
Yes, now that's why are you sending this one to private school and you're sending me to public school? Forgetting that if they were not in your house, they would not be going to school at all.
Let me tell you that even though I have seen cases of, where the best was given
to the maid,
to the best. The children are here,
so
that they will, they will continue with
feel among,
in school. That's the problem. The best, sending good money home, taking care of the parents' money and all of that. You see,
our last maid was the same issue, and we loved her so much.
It is what we said that people have a covenant with.
I think security firms, these private security firms, this is a business opportunity for them.
I agree.
Whereby you put cameras in your residence, and then there are managers entrusted with ensuring that when people go into your rooms or wherever to clean them, they're under watch.
That's just one case.
But there's somebody
because this driver that drove into his other's house, abducted him and drove him out to one bush.
Why would an estate? You see, some of these estates, when I go to some of these estates,
how many cars will you check?
No, it's not about how many cars will we check. One man.
No, they already know the driver. Estate already know the driver.
Yes, now. Yes, now.
I try to bring my journalism experience to there. In journalism, he said, don't believe anything. Be skeptic. Don't believe anybody, even if until people prove. So, for me, when I look at some estates, you see estates with, solid cars. Well,
it's when you are coming in that you need a code. But when you are driving out.
Yeah, but estates should also develop that.
If it's somebody who resides there, it doesn't need a letter from the family.
No, not just a letter.
It doesn't need
you should. Let me tell you.
Your domestic staff. So you'll be sending your driver out every time and you'll be asking him for code.
Do you know why?
Why?
Do you know why? Let me tell you something. The money that man paid. Do you know there's a businessman who was killed recently in Anambra State? He paid ransom of 10 million, they still killed him. And for instance, if that man was
it's like that for Elmia.
He may have been one of the biggest financiers of that estate. So it won't cost anything for all members of the estate to say, wait a minute. We will install camera. We don't need to open your car, just sit in your car. It will search everything. To search.
Cameras will search everything in your car.
Yes. It will bring up everything your car. So if you do that, let me tell you, it may look like inconvenience, but you see, you can replace a car, replace money,
it's the shortest
or you
way
can
to
replace life.
True.
Now, when you do
is gone, she can never come back.
Anybody who is coming to be employed there will think twice about committing crime.
Oh, I agree.
The thing with crime is too often. Like
you know that you can get away.
We set the ground for crime.
We create offense.
Due to empathy, we now become foolish. We now become so stupid. And we don't know that we are great. Why would you give your driver money to go and change to dollars for you?
Sir,
why?
He's a trusted driver.
Let me tell you.
Also because
let me tell you that.
A trusted driver. No. Juremeka say because, like I always say, for one person who does the wrong thing, there are 10 others
that are good.
Yes. And who have, like I had an aunt. I have an aunt who had a maid that lived with them for 21 years, and when it was time for her to go, she had a wedding actually. You know what I mean? She lived with him until she came of age and was to marry.
You guys know that my uncle died this year.
Yes, and
his maid
they went.
flew in from Dublin.
They just walk away like that.
I was hosting
Cyril.
Cyril, you know my uncle died this year. His maid, right, flew in from Dublin with her daughter.
You can imagine.
I was hosting the night of tributes, and then she speaks good English now. Actually, she came from Ghana when she was younger. She just said she wanted to speak, only to come and say at the night of tribute that, oh, let me open up. I was their maid. They treated me like their child. Going to Dublin, getting married. They were the ones that did everything like she was their child.
I know of one big man.
So you can imagine.
So you can imagine such a family.
There are very many
that they will not send the driver to go and buy dollars. Who will go?
I know of one big man in Nigeria whose son married their maid.
Oh,
okay.
Yes.
If it was convenient, right?
I know of a big man.
If it worked, yes.
Married their maid.
When we return, the juror from Rabbi Evans Ufeli heads to the president's office to deliver an apology he had better not be there to receive. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Middleman.